Your expensive corporate headquarters is officially a vanity project that is actively killing your team's productivity. You are spending millions of dirhams a year to lease commercial real estate in a glittering tower, convincing yourself that physical proximity equates to corporate loyalty. In the 2026, high-performance culture isn't about beautiful lobbies, espresso machines, or open-plan seating. It is about algorithmic trust and asynchronous velocity. Stop tracking employee badges and start engineering decentralized protocols that prioritize raw mathematical output over physical presence to stay competitive today. The first physical economy that has irrevocably arrived, yet most leaders are still trapped in outdated 20th century managerial oversight. We are replacing the paranoid concept of a boss looking over your shoulder with rigorous peer-to-peer accountability systems and unstoppable decentralized workflows. Learn exactly how to transform your isolated, remote talent into a cohesive, lethal corporate force using engineering-grade cultural protocol. Remote teams are currently struggling with isolation and declining trust because they are foolishly using old-world physical rules for a highly accelerated digital reality. By stripping away the office and deploying strict asynchronous systems, you unlock an entirely new level of high-performance velocity. Discover how to fundamentally re-engineer your organization's DNA to focus exclusively on output, not office hours. Before I completely dismantle the illusion of a physical corporate culture, expose the catastrophic latency of asynchronous communication, and give you the precise architectural blueprint to build an algorithmic trust across global time zone, hit the subscribe button and press the notification bell. I post daily videos showing you exactly how to navigate the global labor and capital market using cold, hard engineering logic. You do not want to miss these execution protocols. Stop trying to replicate the office on a computer screen. Grab a notebook, it is time to architect the post-physical enterprise. Welcome back, I'm Dr. HR. To understand why my approach to the organizational culture, human capital, and remote architectural is aggressively different from the soft, aesthetic advice peddled by legacy management consultant, you must understand my underlying structural logic. I hold a PhD in human resources, a bachelor's in computer engineering, and master's from prestigious Tata Institute of Social Sciences TISS in Mumbai. I do not look at a corporate culture as a feeling or an atmosphere. I look at it as a strict operating system. Operating on the ground here in Dubai since 2010, I have architected compliance frameworks, structured real estate brokerage partnership, and driven regulatory remediation within the highly secure, heavily audited banking sector at institutions like Co-Fortitude. I monitored exactly how global capital relies on decentralized execution. The apex organizations of 2026 do not mandate physical attendance. They mandate absolute operational sovereignty. Let us systematically deconstruct this cultural revolution through 5 distinct phases. The vanity of a physical hub, the synchronous defect, architecting asynchronous velocity, the algorithms of trust, and the sovereign digital architecture. Phase 1, the vanity of the physical hub, the provocative contrarian. We must first diagnose the exact debilitating financial and biological leak that is destroying the modern corporation's ability to scale. When a company secures a massive round of funding, or when a traditional enterprise seeks to project dominance, the default, unthinking algorithm is to sign a massive commercial lease. They secure 20,000 square feet in the IFC or Business Bay. They build glass-walled boardrooms. They believe that by forcing 300 employees into a single physical location, they are organically generating collaboration and the culture. This is the urban vanity premium. It is an illusion. A physical office does not create culture. It creates forced conformity. Furthermore, it extracts a massive unrecorded biological tax from your apex operator. You cannot build a high-performance culture if your top-tier software engineer, legal analyst, and the financial directors are burning their highly scarce cognitive bandwidth sitting in brutal zigzag road traffic for 2 hours a day. When you force a senior operator to abandon their 5-year-old child at a breakfast table just so they can rush into the city center to swipe an RFID badge at a turnstile, you are biologically degrading your own workforce. You are elevating their cortisol, fracturing their focus, and draining the exact mental energy you're paying them a premium to deploy. You are trading the elite cognitive output for aesthetic comfort of seeing bodies in the chair. In the 2026 labor market, the most brilliant operators in the world, the top 1%, refuse to accept this biological tax. They possess absolute market leverage. If you mandate physical attendance, you immediately filter out the apex global talent, leaving your organization starved entirely by compliant, localized mediocrity. The expensive corporate headquarters is a relic. It is a monument to an era when work required a physical assembly lines. Today, the assembly line is code, data, and logic. It exists in the silicon layer. You must strip away the physical vanity project and migrate your culture to the digital frontier. Phase 2, the synchronous defect, the problem-solving solution deep dive. When corporations first attempted remote work, they failed catastrophically. They failed because they did not change their operating system. They simply copied and pasted the physical office onto a digital screen. This created the synchronous defect. In the physical office, the managers rely on a synchronous communication. If they have a question, they walk over to your desk and interrupt you. They call spontaneous one-hour meeting in the glass boardroom to brainstorm. When these companies went remote, they replaced the desk interruptions into Slack notification, and they replaced the boardroom with a Zoom link. Remote teams are currently struggling with intense isolation, burnout, and declining trust because they are using the old world rules for a digital reality. If your remote employees spend 6 hours a day on consecutive video calls, you do not have a decentralized workflow. You have a digital panopticon. Synchronous communication is a massive operational vulnerability. It requires all biological nodes to be available at the exact same millisecond. It fractures deep work. It destroys the flow state required for complex problem solving. In Lean Six Sigma, any interruption that stops the continuous flow of value creation is a defect. A spontaneous Zoom meeting is a defect. When you force global cross-functional teams to align their schedules perfectly just to share basic information, you introduce massive latency into your value stream. You are throttling your organization's velocity because your manager are too lazy to write down their thought. The boss looking over the shoulder has simply transformed into the boss demanding an immediate response on a chat application. This is not a high-performance culture. This is a digitized micromanagement, and it is destroying your team's output. Phase 3, architecting asynchronous velocity, the future-forward visionary. To achieve true post-physical dominance, you must completely eradicate the synchronous defect. You must architect an asynchronous velocity. High-performance culture in 2026 is entirely decoupled from time and space. The organization must operate under the strict, uncompromising assumption that nobody is working at the same time. You must transition from a culture of a verbal transmission to a culture of a written and recorded documentation. Imagine you are deploying a highly complex Oracle HCM module integration across 3 different time zones. In a legacy culture, the project manager calls a massive synchronous meeting. Half the team is exhausted, the other half is distracted, and the verbal instructions are forgotten the moment the call ends. In an asynchronous velocity culture, the project manager operates differently. They structure the entire deployment protocol in a centralized, searchable database like Notion or Confluence. They define the exact API parameter, the compliance constraint, and the key performance indicator. If a complex visual explanation is required, they do not schedule a call. They use an asynchronous broadcasting tool like Loom or Snagit. They record a precise 5-minute screen capture deconstructing the integration logic. They embed the video into the documentation. The engineers in Dubai, the data analysts in London, and the compliance officers in Singapore consume this data precisely when their biological rhythm and schedules allow for maximum cognitive focus. They execute their specific node of the project, push the code, update the central database, and seamlessly pass the baton to the next time zone. The project moves continuously, 24 hours a day, without a single human being forced to coordinate a calendar invite. This is the holy grail of organization scaling. By stripping away the office and deploying the asynchronous systems, you unlock a new level of high-performance velocity. The work becomes decoupled from the ego of the manager. The communication becomes immutable, searchable, and infinitely scalable. You replace the frantic, high cortisol chaos of a physical office with the cold, silent, relentless execution of a decentralized grid. Phase 4, the algorithm of trust, peer-to-peer accountability. The immediate, panicked question from the legacy executive is always, if I cannot see them and I cannot talk to them on Zoom, how do I know they're actually working? This question reveals a fatal flaw in the 20th century leadership. It assumes that the trust is an emotional feeling generated by physical proximity. It assumes that if an employee is sitting at a desk looking stressed, they are being productive. In the post-physical hybrid world, trust is not an emotion. Trust is a mathematical algorithm. You must deploy the algorithm of trust. We are replacing the subjective boss looking over your shoulder with the brutal peer-to-peer accountability systems and unmistakable data-driven workflows. You must instrument your organization for outcome-based telemetry. When I managed a regulatory and financial remediation protocols within the heavily audited banking sectors, compliance was not ensured by walking the floor and looking at the screens. Compliance was ensured by structuring airtight digital checkpoint and algorithmic validation. You evaluate your talent exactly the same way. You do not measure input hours logged. You exclusively measure output, result delivered. If a remote worker is tasked with executing Lean Six Sigma latency reduction on your supply chain software, you set the mathematical parameter. Reduce API call latency by 400 milliseconds before Friday at 5. If the operator delivers the optimized code, achieves the 400 millisecond reduction, and perfectly document the integration on the central server by Wednesday, they have fulfilled the contract. The algorithm of trust is satisfied. It does not matter if they worked for a cafe in Bali, if they look at the nap on a Tuesday afternoon, or if they spent Wednesday morning with their children. Their physical location and the biological schedule are completely irrelevant to the balance state. Conversely, if an employee is failing, it is immediately visible in the data. You do not need to micromanage them. The peer-to-peer accountability system will expose them. If Node A fails to push the code, Node B cannot execute the integration. The entire decentralized pod immediately identifies a failing node because the value stream stops. The system self-corrects. You strip away the charismatic fakers who survive by looking busy in front of the CEO. You are left with a culture of pure, unadulterated competence. Phase 5. The sovereign digital architecture broadcasting intent. We have diagnosed the vanity of a physical hub. We have eradicated synchronous latency. We have deployed an asynchronous velocity, and we have mathematically defined trust. The final phase is the role of an executive. How does a CEO or a founder lead a company they can no longer see? You must build the sovereign digital architecture. Leadership in 2026 is an exercise in high-fidelity broadcasting. You must transition from being a physical manager to becoming a digital media entity. In a legacy company, the CEO holds a physical town hall in a cafeteria. The acoustic environment is terrible. The message is diluted. The employee in the back row are checking their phones. The sovereign architect operates entirely differently. When a major strategic shift is required, perhaps a massive pivot in your UAE real estate brokerage operation, aligning with the new RERA compliance law, you do not send a generic, text-heavy email. You weaponize your digital environment. You step into your acoustic-treated home studio. You power up your elite Cineline Gear Sony FX series camera. You establish a flawless 3-point cinematic lightning grid. You import your raw strategic data, your financial projections, and your market analysis. You edit the broadcast seamlessly utilizing the advanced node-based color grading and structural editing softwares like DaVinci Resolve 20. You record a highly structured, unsentimental, crystal clear video essay, deconstructing the exact macroeconomics logic behind the corporate pivot. You define the mission, establish the constraint, and set the parameters for success. You broadcast this artifact to your entire global decentralized network simultaneously. When your Apex operator consumes this media, they do not experience the awkward, forced enthusiasm of a corporate meeting. They experience the undeniable high-definition transmission of pure executive intent. The production value, the clarity of thought, and the permanence of an artifact creates a psychological anchor for the entire company. You have established the culture without a single physical handshake. Look closely at your current organization structure. Are you forcing brilliant mind to commute to a vanity project? Are you demanding that they sit on a synchronous video call, destroying their cognitive flow of safety, destroying their to satisfy a middle manager's anxiety? The companies that survive the next decade will not be the ones with the best physical real estate. They will be the ones who with most frictionless digital architecture. Stop tracking badges, stop mandating office hours, strip away the physical bureaucracy, engineer asynchronous velocity, deploy algorithmic trust, and build a post-physical culture that prioritizes raw, unshakable output. Process the data, execute the strategy, and I'll see you at the top.